Another duly noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. And welcome into another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Great show for you today. Coach Spurrier will be by. He has a lot of things to say, and we look forward to talking to him. He's brought to you by Meldon Law. Robbie Andrew will be by as well to do Yes, No, Where, Maybe, brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteak. Look forward to that. On Thursday, we'll have another show. Chris Lowe from ESPN is going to join us. Coach Spurrier will be back again Monday, a week from today. And then the following Thursday, Andrea Adelson. We always love having her on the show. So we're stacked up with plenty of guests coming up going forward. And we're in good shape. We're in good shape with sponsors. We're in good shape with guests. We're in good shape. That's all we can say. Now, I have gained a little too much weight from the holidays, but I'm gonna work to get it back off. I lost too much weight to let it go right back. I don't want to be one of these 6,000-pound sisters, where they're like eating bacon all the time. But anyway, I'm gonna get it back going the other way. All right. Let us get to our process service of Gainesville, starting five. Scott Hart, great job. One of our dudes. We like him so much, and we appreciate him being a sponsor here. Let's start off with number one, which was the Florida basketball game, Florida-Kentucky, on Saturday. I went to the game, and it was as loud pro-Kentucky as I've heard it in a long time. Now, it's not the loudest I've ever heard it. There was a time when Florida fans wouldn't go to the games at all. This time there was a lot of empty tickets that were out there, and Kentucky fans bought them up, as they always do, and I give them credit for it. I mean, they didn't make it a home advantage. This wasn't like going to Vandy for football, and you take over the stadium. But it was loud no matter who scored in that game. And they were I will say this, they were a little trepidatious as Florida had the lead for so long, so there wasn't that much. But the Florida crowd was great, too. It was loud. It was loud because it was Kentucky. It was loud because we're an SEC play. The students are back, blah, blah. It was a really kind of a cool atmosphere. I enjoyed the heck out of the game. They led most of the way. It's one of those games you're always going to look back at, like you do with many of the football games this year, and go, man, that was one that got away. If they just could have won that game, maybe they'd have gotten the tournament. We'll see. It's very early. It was one SEC game. Florida clearly played at Kentucky's level, and that gets us to number two on the process service of Gainesville starting five, which is these teams are alike. They're not alike physically because Kentucky doesn't have the bigs that Florida has. Florida's bigs, they count on more. They're more of a guard-oriented team, although Florida's kind of become a guard-oriented team when Pullen and Clayton both had 23 each. But both teams are so good offensively, they're never out of a game. They're not going to get blown out. I mean, it can happen, but you're not going to get blown out. You're going to be in every game, and they're so bad defensively, both teams, that other teams are going to stay in the game. So most of their games against quality teams, good teams, are going to be, for both teams, are going to be last 4 minutes. What happens? After the last timeout, media timeout, what happens? That's what the games are going to be. And that's what every game's going to be for Florida, I think. There may be a couple games where the team just doesn't want to play or they don't play well and they're terrible and they beat them. And that happens in a season. But I'm just telling you, I saw two teams that are about the same out there. Their skill level's a little higher. Florida's got bigger guys. That's the only difference. But they're very similar teams. Number three on our process service of Gainesville starting five. So is the deal that everybody who leaves here wants to play against Florida? Is there something? Are they just mad at the Gators for something? They didn't like their NIL deal. They didn't like Billy Napier, their position coach. They didn't like. But it just everybody transfers, and I go, oh, they're on Florida's schedule next year. Princely to Ole Miss, obviously Etienne to Georgia. There's a bunch of other guys that have traded, that have gone. Scooby Williams now going to Texas A&M. I think that's the third game of the year for Florida this year at home. So he gets to come back. All these guys, They shouldn't have ever said, this is my last game in the Swamp. This is my last game in the Swamp this year, because next year I'll be back there playing for another team. It's going to be weird, but it is what we're dealing with this, the whole NIL portal and all that stuff. Like they were saying on the broadcast, is this the last game in a Titans uniform for Derrick Henry? And my thing was, this could be the last game in a uniform for any one of these players in college or pro. You never know. You never know what's going to happen. They may trade you. You could sign as a free agent in college. Hey, your senior day is, you have 4 senior days basically, because you could walk at all of them because you may be at another school, and then you wait. Let me walk here too. It is what it is. I don't particularly care for it. In my day, we didn't have this. All right, so number 4 on the process service of Gainesville, starting 5, it is Black Monday, so coaches are getting fired. Arthur Smith fired. Nobody, I will say this, nobody seemed to like that guy. The players didn't seem to like him. Nobody around the media hated him. Nobody around the offices seemed to like him. I don't know. I never talked to him. I heard him on a couple of podcasts and stuff, but boy, that needed to happen, I think. And they've already got names out. Todd Monken being think about Todd Monken going there, because Todd Monken is showing me a lot at Georgia, and now he's with the Ravens, right? And he's shown me a lot. And you can take Jaden Daniels over there. You can get him. You can draft him. You're not going to get him. You're not going to get the first pick. Take him over there, and boy, I'd be afraid of that happening if I was in that division. And then of course Ron Rivera got fired. I was talking to Coach Spurrier earlier. We were just talking off the record, and he was like, "Yeah, he's back. He's okay with the Redskins now that Dan Snyder's out of there." Because Jerry hates him. So, but I hated the Redskins during that, after Steve left and the way he was treated. I've hated the Redskins since then. And I talked about this last week. There's 32 teams in the NFL. I hate half of them and I love half of them. It's weird. I don't know how I'm able to do that. But, I may be buying a Titans t-shirt this week is all I can say about that. So we'll see what happens with Belichick, and that'll set off all kinds of craziness. Who's going to replace Belichick if he's gone? Where is he going to go? And that'll open up another spot. So we'll just see. It's going to be fun, the off season for the NFL. But as far as the regular season goes, it is over, and that's number 5 on our process service of Gainesville starting 5. It is over because the playoffs are now all set. We know who's playing who. We know when they're playing. I'm looking forward to it. Love the playoffs. Not in the playoffs, the Jacksonville Jaguars. They lost, 5 of the last 6? That was not good for them. And there's a lot of people saying, well, maybe Trevor Etienne's a bust. I read one of the stories was from Gene Fournette, and it was like a fan blog. He's like, we're mad. We don't like this. We can't have this. I thought I was reading a fan blog. Anyway, it's one reason I don't like the Jaguars, the way they get treated by the media up there. But there's a lot of things. It is a very deep-seated, weird dislike for them. And I need time on a psychiatrist's couch to get it right. But anyway, the playoffs are all set. There's some intriguing matchups. It's kind of weird because Miami is playing the Chiefs, right?
Yeah.
And that is, you look at it and you go, I don't know who to pick in that game because they're both going off the deep end. So, I don't know who to root for either. I've really been a Dolphins fan since I covered the Dolphins back in '77. I like that. Rooted for them in the, to have the perfect season. But I kind of become a Chiefs guy, and like I said, there's 16 teams I really like, and there's 16 I hate. So I just got to pick up the hate-love ones and just watch those games because that way I'll be able to get into them. But anyway, the playoffs are set. It should be fun. Should be a lot of interest. and I know you guys will all be watching. And we'll talk a lot about them going forward, not only in the weeks ahead, but in our quick picks and all that stuff. All right, we got to take a break. When we come back, Robbie Andrew will join us, but he'll join us after Steve Spurrier, because Steve Spurrier always goes first before Robbie Andrew. You know that. Robbie will go. Well, Steve will go, and we'll have him on here. We always love having him, brought to you by Meldon Law. And then Robbie will be on for Yes, No, Where, maybe brought to you by Big Mill's Cheesesteak. And then we'll get to all of our other fun stuff. We'll also have the Campus USA Play of the Year is coming up. All that and more here on another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
Process Service of Gainesville offers a rapid turnaround on affidavits of service for Gator lawyers locally and nationwide. Our friend Scott Hart offers immediate responses on status requests and is a member of NAPS and FAPS. And he has been a part of the community for almost 2 decades. Need service? Call Process Service of Gainesville at 407-697-9592 or email shartgators, that's G8TR, at yahoo.com. And make sure you ask about the paralegal legal secretary bonus program.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
I was driving behind a lady, and very suddenly she moved out of the way. There was a log laying in the road, and when I hit my brakes, I went on top of the log. I had 280 discs. I just haven't been the same since. Jeffrey Meldon fought for me all the way. Him and his team really went there for me. Throughout the whole lawsuit, he made sure that my bills was paid. It was never no whenever I called him and asked him for something.
Call Meldon Law right now.
All right, welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. And Meldon Law, of course, is a sponsor of this man, the HBC. We love having him on Mondays. It's a Meldon Monday with Coach Spurrier. We always enjoy it, Coach. And obviously, I don't think the championship game's got a ton of buzz. You know what I mean? We're not real. Nobody's like out there talking about it, but obviously the college football season ends today.
Well, it's a buzz for those people from Michigan and Washington.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, not having an SEC team in it makes it a little quieter, I guess,
think so.
Here in the South. But it should be a heck of a game. It should be a heck of a game. Washington has had an unbelievable year. They've won, I think, 7 one-score games, 6 or 7. And Michigan, they've been pretty dominant. They were fortunate. The Alabama game could have gone either way, but they made one more play, I guess, than Alabama did. So either team can win. I just got a feeling Washington, this may be their year. The way they've won all the way through and so forth. But time will tell, but it'll be fun watching it tonight.
Well, I know that Harbaugh is hoping that the NCAA comes down and says, hey, you're suspended for this game. And then they know they'll win that game because whenever he's not there, they're unbelievable. But it has been a weird dynamic with him and what we've been dealing with also with Bill Belichick. I mean, two of the most well-known coaches. And
yeah, everybody is wondering what Belichick's going to do, and I sort of think the owner may leave it up to him.
Yeah.
I guess somebody wrote a story up in the Boston paper recently that when Belichick was hired there, they had just gone through Parcells, left on his own, and I think Pete Carroll was there a while and left. And so Belichick got the job. And they said the franchise was worth, when Belichick was hired, it was worth about $500, $700 million. And that's worth $6 billion, they say. So with Belichick there, obviously the value is way, way, way up there. But then again, does that mean, well, he gets to stay as long as he wants to? I don't know what the owner, Mr. Kraft's, going to do. But sometimes when I watch a lot of these pro teams, especially guys who have guaranteed contracts, I mean, the losing doesn't seem to hurt them as much as it hurt some of us. Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know what'll happen there. Only I think the owner and Belichick himself knows. But I think there's been a couple other guys let go. But that's not surprising. That's what they do every year, usually between 3 and 5
Black
or 6.
Monday, yeah.
Yeah, that's just what they do. Everybody can't win.
No, you can't win. And it's like I mentioned, I think there's 64 or 65 SEC games every year between SEC teams. Somebody's losing every one of them.
Yeah, there's a winner or loser. There's no ties anymore.
There's no ties.
And the preseason poll actually came out yesterday. I don't know if you saw it, but nothing's changed much as far as Georgia and Bama 1 and 2. And then all the usual. Missouri coming up to number 8, I think, and Ole Miss in the top 10 at 7. That was the only thing different a little bit from last year. All these other schools are pretty much, they've been here before. I guess surprising at the end, Southern Cal and Miami are down at 24-25.
Wow.
But we didn't make it again. Florida, South Carolina, and Duke, my 3 schools, did not make the top 25 this year. So
you're better off not making it now. You make it later. Make it later when you're winning games, when you've done something and achieved something.
Yeah, hopefully that will happen. But anyway, the NFL, they'll start their playoffs. The Jags had a tough finish. That was disappointing. I thought they really had a team that could make some noise this year. Bucks came back, won their division again.
They did.
Of course, 9-8 winning the division. You're in the right division when you can do that. Obviously.
Think about that though, Steve. This team went 9-8, won the division. Yeah. If you go 9-8 in college, everybody's like, "Well, this guy's got to go." Yeah,
but it is almost all teams are even. Shout out to the Houston Texans. I like those guys, and what it proved: a rookie coach, D'Amico Ryans, first time he's ever been a head coach, and everybody says, "Well, he needs head coach experience." No, he doesn't need head coach experience. And they got the quarterback, C.J. Stroud. Well, you can't win with a rookie quarterback, they said. Well, why can't you? It reminds me sort of my first year here at Florida.
Yeah, same, yeah.
He ain't going to win it his first year. He doesn't even have a quarterback. They didn't know Shane Matthews was here, I guess. But you can win your first year, and you can convince a team they're good enough to win. So the Houston Texans may go far in the playoffs. We'll just have to wait and see. But anyway, that was a shout out to the Houston Texans.
Yeah, we got a lot of playoffs coming up this weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun. I love playoff. I even love playoff basketball, NBA basketball. Yep. But I really love NFL playoffs, and that's going to be exciting. And then we get out of it, and we're right into the college, the end of college basketball season, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, I know that Florida had a difficult loss on Saturday, but they were right there, man. It was they're good enough, and I said this before. They're good enough that nobody can blow them out, but they're bad enough on defense that they can't blow anybody out because they can't get stops.
Yeah. To finish in basketball. First of all, you got to be able to shoot free throws.
Yeah, yes.
And that was interesting what Kentucky did. They put that kid in there that doesn't miss. Yeah. And I mean, I don't even think he hit the rim on hardly any of those 6-in-a-row free throws he made. And we couldn't prevent him from getting the ball.
Right.
You got to double team him and make him throw at somebody else and go foul them when you're in that situation. But Kentucky, they played well the second half. We didn't play our best. I think we were 1 of 11 on shooting threes the second half. So just didn't quite play well enough. And our women's team lost at Vandy also. Similar situation.
Close, get a little tougher, man.
Yeah, we lost at the end. So
got to win those kind of games.
Yeah,
and that's what.
And it's going to be close ones. Everybody's pretty good. All the teams have talent. If a team's loaded with talent, the guys that are subs, they're going to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
They're going to transfer. So everybody's going to have fairly even talent, I think. Not exactly, but pretty close.
No, but it's close.
Pretty close.
Yeah. I do think in the women's game, it is a little top heavy. There's 4 or 5 programs that are up there, and then everybody else is kind of fighting for that second tier. And it's harder. I think the pool's not as deep, and there's not as many players that want to go into it. A lot of them go into volleyball, as you know. When I see these girls that are 6'5" and they're going up and they're way up in the air and they're slamming balls, I'm like, come play basketball. that would be great, but I guess, it's where you want to go.
Yeah, women's basketball is really taking off.
Yeah.
In fact, their TV ratings are right there with the men, from
Yep.
what I understand.
They are absolutely. And of course, we'll just wait and see what happens with Florida, with the portal and everything, because, I mean, you've been hosting a lot of those people here. I know that, but you can only do so much. You can't go in there and make them come. You can't.
We have signed the Gatorade Player of the Year.
We have.
That doesn't happen every year. So Lagway, DJ Lagway, I don't know if he'll start this year. I guess Graham Mertz is definitely back. But I don't know how.
Everybody wants it to be a Tebow Leak thing, where Leak's the starter.
Both of them play.
They both come in.
Well, that could make
sense. And you've done that too. You did that with in 97 a lot.
Play the best players, and if they're struggling a bit, play the other one. There's nothing wrong with substitutes.
How much do you worry, though, about the psyche of a quarterback? Like I think you told Rex one day on the sideline, Jesse had thrown a ball, and you said, Rex, can you make that throw? And you put him in the game, and he did. I mean, do you worry about what he's going to feel like coming off the
no, because he'll know to go back in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, heck, I benched Danny at the Georgia game.
Yeah.
He was having trouble with the wet ball.
Yeah.
And Terry Dean had no trouble in pregame warm-ups, and that was a rainy day.
Oh, well, it's terrible.
That day of '93. So Terry goes in and played well the second half, and then Danny came back 2 or 3 games later or something like that.
Yeah, but sometimes you just have to do it. You have to do what's right. And I think that's the key, is that for a coach, you have to do what's going to allow you to win the best. And if it means somebody's feelings are hurt, or it means somebody's going to get in the portal now, you have to worry about that all the time. You got to do what helps you the best. How you win the game.
You watch these NFL games, and then all of a sudden, right now, the best quarterback in the league looks like Joe Flacco.
Yeah,
he wasn't. Nobody wanted him.
He was on his couch.
Oh, the middle of the year, they said, well, let's give him a tryout.
Yeah.
He said he's been throwing. He had an agent called Cleveland. They said, yeah, he's been staying in shape. He's been throwing to his kids and down at the schoolyard. So they brought him in. He pitched it around. They said, all right, we're signing you.
Yeah.
And by the way, you're starting this week. and now he's hit all of his bonuses or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're a team that could go quite a way in the playoffs. I think their defense is 1 or 2 in the NFL.
It is
right now. So,
did you get any of those performance bonuses when you were at
I don't think
San
I even
Francisco?
had.
I mean, was there a punting bonus because you punted for them?
No, I didn't have many bonuses written in. I should have. I didn't even have any for winning the SEC here.
Oh, really?
No, we didn't have any bonuses back in those days. We were just happy to have a job, and make enough money to live for a year or 2 and go from there.
What they're making now, it's crazy. I did want to ask you about, speaking of coaching, I know your first-year coach award is coming up soon, right?
It is coming up.
Yeah.
It's coming up right now. The 2 leading candidates are the coach from Liberty, Chadwell, Jamie Chadwell, and out at Las Vegas, Barry Odom. Came from Vandy to, I think he was a coordinator at Arkansas, and then got the job out there.
Was, yeah.
But
he had
anyway,
a great year,
yeah. Rick Neuhauser had a suggestion the other day for FSU. I don't know how many of the people heard about it, but it's very interesting. He said that Mike Norvell ought to get his players and call the Vanderbilt administration and said, listen, we're going to transfer all of our coaches and all of our players and get into the SEC at Vanderbilt, okay? And you take your guys and tell them to go somewhere like Dion told the Colorado players. Yeah. You guys go somewhere else. Wow. But it was interesting that he said if you want to be in the SEC, maybe – now that's not going to work, obviously.
No, but it
was just
it's
sort of the way the game is now, that anybody can transfer and go and this, that, and the other. But yeah.
Well, I mean, I think what they've got to do is just say, hey, look, we want to give you some freedom, but we're just going to limit this thing to 6 years.
You got to have some rules.
Stop at 6 years. You're not getting a 7th year. Don't appeal. We're not going to listen to the appeal. But at 6 years, you got to be out of college. Okay. You got guys playing 8 years all the time. JT Daniels played for 4 different teams. There's got to be a limit to that. You got to make it more about that if you're going to be a student athlete, You got to go to class. But most of these guys are taking everything online. They're
Yeah, somebody needs to do a study about 4 or 5 years, really from now, after this has been going on for 7, 8 years, whatever, and see where these players are now that have transferred all over the place.
Right.
Did they graduate? Do they have jobs? Everybody can't play in the NFL,
Right.
and yet almost all of them think, I'm going to the NFL. Yep. And then if they get a tryout or even if you make NFL team, 3 years is usually the average lifespan. So get a degree, get a job after college. That's still something I wish 90% of these players would do, but that's not talked about very much now.
Yeah, I know. There could be a plan in the works to tie graduation into NIL. Mm-hmm. And but you're going to have to do it NCAA wide. You can't do it conference wide or school wide. Mm-hmm. You do it at your school, well, people aren't going to go there. You know, they're not going to worry about it.
Yeah, you're right. And spending money does not guarantee you're going to win. No. I was looking. I think 3 of the biggest spenders have been Southern Cal, Miami, and Texas A&M. Yeah. And so, as far as the rankings next year, preseason picks, Miami and Southern Cal are at the bottom, 24-25, and Texas A&M's not even in there.
Yeah.
So that shows you can't buy a team.
You can't buy a team. Yeah, that's absolutely true. You've got to recruit and then supplement, I think.
Yeah.
I
think Georgia, you got to give Georgia credit the way they do it.
That's the way they do it.
They'd like to keep
Alabama
their guys.
kind of does it that way.
And Alabama does too, although they have a few more that come and go.
Yep.
But Georgia, their guys don't leave, and they play a lot of people. And then the players know, hey, my time's coming, and I'll be ready. And
they're ready.
And
they're
go
ready.
pro after that. Yeah.
That's the key for them, I think, more than anything.
That's exactly right.
All right, before we let Coach go, we're going to get to our Campus USA Play of the Year. We're going to do the Play of the Year. This was our favorite Play of the Year. A lot of people are doing favorite plays.
Birds hasn't thrown an incompletion yet. He's 4 for 4.
Here it is. You guys remember this well. One-handed catch, Ricky Pearsall. And guys were about to clobber him, too. I mean, that would have been a great catch if nobody was around him.
I'm just glad that guy that came in head first right there hit his own teammate. See him hit his teammate? Right. He ducked his head and hit the other Charlotte player because that could have hurt right there.
Oh, yeah.
So, fortunately, he missed Ricky. But that was a great catch. You know what would have happened? I would have been chewing out the quarterback right then for setting him up like that.
Yeah.
He didn't look off. He didn't look off the safety near enough to throw that to him.
They threw a lot of balls into crowds sometimes last year,
Yeah, you got to not lead players into danger. I always try to stress that because you got to look at it from the receiver's point of view.
Right.
If he runs across the field and there's a guy clobbers him, he's not going to want to run across there anymore. So the quarterback has to protect the receivers, I've always felt, and tried to coach that. And that way the receivers, they appreciate that also.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Coach. Well, we'll let Coach go. We'll be back with him next Monday, and we look forward to that. We'll talk we'll talk then about what happened.
National
tonight.
champs, yeah.
We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Gator basketball and all that.
Now, I heard on Ricky Neuhauser's show this morning that the tickets, you can get a ticket in the stadium for $900 up in the rafters somewhere.
You know what they were when Michigan won, they were $2,200. And then when that was the get-in price. But then when obviously when Washington won, the price went way down. You know, they wanted to see Michigan, Texas, you know. They really wanted to see Alabama, Texas, I think. But that's the way the ticket prices go. But luckily, you know what it costs for me to watch it on TV? 0.0.
Well, you have to watch the commercials, though.
That's right. Well, I don't have to.
You don't have to. You flip it around.
Yep.
I tell you what, I like that NFL Red Zone.
Oh, I watched it yesterday.
Oh, yeah. No commercials. They just keep flipping around, big plays all over the place. And that's the way to watch NFL when there's, 5 or 6 games going on. I like that.
Yep. Well, there's still too many commercials, but the commercials are pretty good. The Dr. Pepper commercials have gotten good, which you used to star in. You used to be the star of those commercials.
Dr. Pepper, yeah, they've got some good ones, I guess.
Did they give you a bunch of Dr. Pepper for that?
Oh, that's a long time ago. my son-in-law, Jay Moody, now he loves Dr. Peppers. Every time they come to a Florida game, he brings a six-pack or two of Dr. Peppers. So I think we still got some in the refrigerator.
All right, we'll let Coach go. We'll be back with more, including Robbie Andrew for Yes, No, Where, Maybe. All that coming up here on another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Studios at Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from another Duly Noted podcast. And this is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Brewer To Go. What would give you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where, everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Spite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
I was driving behind a lady, and very suddenly she moved out of the way. There was a log laying in the road, and when I hit my brakes, I went on top of the log. I had 280 discs. I just haven't been the same since. Jeffrey Meldon fought for me all the way. Him and his team really went there for me. Throughout the whole lawsuit, he made sure that my bills was paid. It was never no whenever I called him and asked him for something.
Call Meldon Law right now.
Another Duly Noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Celebration Point. You can watch and listen to us on Facebook and YouTube for every podcast that we do on Mondays and Fridays at 2 o'clock. Listen to the podcast whenever on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Overcast, any of the other 39 platforms where you can find this podcast or your favorite podcast. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or call me if you want to do some advertising at 352-317-3444. Okay, and welcome back to another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios here at Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. And we always love having Robbie on here, who's a frequent visitor here to Spurrier's. He loves it here, and Robbie's going to play Yes, No, Where, Maybe. He's coming to you on the Big Mills Cheesesteaks Zoom line, as always. Robert Andrew, how are you?
Good, Pat. How are you? How was your weekend?
Jaguars lost.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, that was pretty good. Still thinking about a Titans T-shirt. May go with that.
Yeah. Now Mark Long is saying that he's a bust.
Who?
The QB.
Lawrence? Oh,
Lawrence, he's on the bus basically.
No, I hope they get rid of him because I think
he's their only hope.
He's been hurt. They aren't putting guys around him. I don't buy it at all.
No.
But it is what it is, and obviously the playoffs are all set up. And I don't know if you are aware of this, but apparently tonight the national championship game is being played. I hear nothing about it. Like, nobody's talking about it. There's no buzz. There's nothing.
There is no buzz, Pat. I was thinking about that today. That I'm looking forward to watching the game, but there hadn't been much buzz at all. I don't know if it's because there's no SEC team in there. No Alabama, no Georgia. It's just kind of an odd matchup to me. That I'm not really pulling for one team or the other. It's just hope for a good game, I guess.
Well, I do want to ask you about whether you can really even do this thing even better with your appearance and maybe put a picture of Gopher in there instead of you. Would that be,
Pat, you know what I'm doing after I get off of here?
What?
I'm meeting Lauren Green at the pool for drinks.
Oh, that's not fair.
It's the Love Boat.
It is. I know. Well, make it sure that they have to have umbrellas in them, right?
Yeah.
Those
yeah.
things. Yeah.
Of course.
Can you put umbrella in a beer?
You could try. Yeah. Why not?
All right. Let's get to Yes, No, Where. Maybe it is brought to you by our good friends at Big Mill's Cheesesteak. And, of course, if you go in there and you say you listen to the podcast, you get free fries with your order. So, Robbie, yes, no, where, maybe Michigan covers 4.5 tonight against Washington.
I'm going to say yes, Pat. I mean, unless Penix has a huge game, which I don't know. You know, to me, Washington is good, really good, pretty good on defense, can be great on offense. But you look at their schedule, who they've played, and they haven't really blown anybody away. They've just kind of hung in games. So, and I think Michigan's kind of got it going right now in terms of confidence and balanced offense, and that defense is really special, I think.
Yeah, I think that's the thing.
Yeah, they're going to cover.
Their defense will make it very hard for Washington to score, and then they'll just wait. They'll be patient. They're very good at being patient for the right thing to happen. Like they'll be patient, and then all of a sudden you'll turn it over, or you'll muff a punt, or something like that.
Yeah.
Now, of course, against Alabama, they muffed the punts and they almost blew the game, but.
Like that Alabama game, Pat, Alabama was getting the momentum in the second half, and then all of a sudden Michigan just turned it around and took it over. So
older players too. That's a big factor in this. All right, number 2 on Robbie Andrew. Yes, nowhere. Maybe Bill Belichick is the Patriots coach next year.
I'm going to say maybe, Pat. I mean, there's a lot of smoke out there about him going to maybe San Diego or somewhere like that. Starting over somewhere. So I would say maybe. I know that he said yesterday he's under contract with the Patriots for now, but that could be very tenuous. And maybe I don't know why he would want to start over somewhere. I would think he ought to start thinking about retiring maybe.
Yeah, it'll be funny because if he does become a free agent, Gator fans will say, "Get rid of Napier and get Belichick."
Oh, there's no doubt some people will be saying that, Pat. No doubt.
Can you imagine Belichick having to deal with the portal and although he might be equipped to it because he deals with it all the time. You got
he could do he'd do the portal. I don't know if he'd want to do recruiting though. That would be the thing I think he wouldn't want to do.
Yeah. There should be more NFL coaches coming to coach college because they're used to dealing with that. But then they get into the recruiting part of it and they go, well, but I don't want to deal with this. So that's all right. And that's why.
So instead we've got assistant coaches in college fleeing to the NFL to get away from all this.
I know, exactly. All right, finally, number 4. The Vikings had a 0.4 chance of making the playoffs when they took the field Saturday. You thought you had hope at that point.
No way. No way, Pat. Not the fact they were playing on the road against the Lions and we have no quarterback basically. So yeah, there was no way
they were
going to get
quarterback in that game.
I'm not sure who they went with this time. I think it was the guy that was with
Nick
the 49ers. Yeah.
I heard it was Treon Harris. Is there any chance that's who it was?
It could have come down to that. They were that low in the depth chart. So, but yeah, there was no way, Pat.
Yeah,
and there's no way they just didn't belong in the playoffs anyhow.
Well, there are a couple other teams that don't belong in there, but we'll see what happens. I am excited about watching the playoffs, though. I think it's a great.
But Pat, here's something that really was irritating me last night when they were talking about the Miami-Kansas City game. We're not going to be able to see. It's on Peacock only.
Peacock, yeah. I
don't have Peacock.
Well, you can come over and watch it at our house. We got it.
Oh, okay.
I want everything on ABC, NBC, and CBS.
That should be on the networks.
We grew up in that generation. We just want everything on the channels. But it is like the Prime Video games, the Thursday night games. I'm like, if it's a big game, I'll watch it. I'll leave it on there. But if it's not, I'll watch it for a little while and I go, I'm turning it off and I'm not coming back. It's going to take me 5 minutes to log on. So
I got you. I feel your pain on that one.
Yeah, but I mean, we'll see. We'll see. This is the way.
But Pat, when we were kids, we got 3 channels. That was it. So
when I was a kid, I remember the day we got our 3rd channel, ABC. That was a big deal. Yeah,
it was a UHF thing.
And I remember the big thing was we could watch the Beatles cartoon. That was which they had nothing to do with, of course. But that was the big thing. You could watch the Beatles cartoon. So,
of course, it was a black and white TV, probably too.
Yeah, it was. It was. I watched the when the Jets won the championship against the Colts. I watched that on black and white TV by myself in my house. Nobody else was interested. I was pacing back and forth because I wanted the Jets to win. I was the only one watching it. Not quite the same as it is today.
No.
Black and white, too. All right, Robbie, appreciate you being on. Yes, no way, or maybe.
Okay, Pat, I'm heading to the pool.
All right, see you.
The Love Boat Pool.
All right, buddy, take it easy.
Okay, see you, Pat.
Okay, always love Robbie coming on the show, and we appreciate him being part of it. Appreciate Big Mill's Cheesesteak, too, for being a part of our show. We love them, and get them out there for the golf tournament. I think we're going to have one. I'm not going to make a formal announcement, okay? I'll make one probably Thursday. I still have some X's to cross and T's to dot and I's to dot, T's to cross. I got some things to do. I got to carve some things. But we'll let you know when that's the case. We appreciate them for coming on. We appreciate our next sponsor, Hesser and Kipke. And, of course, Hesser and Kipke presents 3 things every week on this show. It's a Gainesville law firm specializing in the areas of workers' law and workers' compensation, family law and workers' compensation, I should have said. If you're a loyal listener to this show, you know who they are by now. If not, Google the firm, check out the reviews, and hear what our clients have to say about them. Ken and Jennifer can be reached at 24/7 via call or text at 352-339-9920. That is Hesser and Kipke, and they sponsor 3 things every Monday and Friday, or Thursday, here on another Dooley Noted podcast. Number 1, I've heard it again from people, and I'm just going to say it. Well, let's just do it. We don't need to wait. I know everybody's like, well, let's just see how things go. We don't need to wait. Let's go to a 64-team league right now, okay? And some of you may get left out. And what we'll do, because we got to get Notre Dame in there, right? So that's 65. So one of you is going to get left out. And what we'll do is we'll just look at what your attendance is. 65, you're out. Sorry, I know who it is, but that's okay. I'm fine with that. We need to become an NFL model better. Like, they have 32, we'll have 64 teams. So we'll have a lot of divisions, but we'll also have all this. They need to do that. They just need to go and do it. We're paying the players to play. They're employees. Let's just do all that. Let's just blow up college football and bring it back as something slicker and better, because that's where it's heading eventually. And it's going to happen eventually. And I may be dead when it happens. But my point is, it's going to happen. Why not do it now and take advantage of all the good things that you have? But they're going to move with a snail's pace, and I'll watch it happen. 12-team playoff is ridiculous. We shouldn't have a 12-team playoff. We should have at least 16-team playoff. We got to get everything bigger. That's how to save college football. In fact, I got to write something about that for Gators Wire. I'm getting ready. I think it's next week. I'm looking forward to it. What I would do to save college football, one thing is make everything bigger. Everything just gigantic. The players, I don't know if we want to make the players play 17 games. Why? They're getting paid. They're getting paid a ridiculous amount of money if the rumor's true. And ETN is going to get $360,000 for playing at Georgia and not even be the number 1 back probably. He could play a 17th game, okay? I think he's okay working 17 days. Anyway, that's my feeling. All right, number 2 on Hesser and Kipke, 3 things. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but the lack of buzz is kind of amazing around this championship game. But it's expected because, first of all, there's no SEC team in it, so you lose all of the South. In the South, everybody's just like, I ain't going to watch that game. If it was even Washington, or if it was Michigan, Texas, people would have watched because it's still the South. And guess what? It's the SEC next year. So they would have watched. They want to see that game. But it's Michigan. Okay, so you got the villain, and that's good. And that's Washington. You're like, and what city are they in again? I guarantee you, if you brought 20 really good college football fans who in here, and you said, where is Washington? 8 would be able to tell you where it is. They don't know where it is. I get it. It's forgotten all year, and this year it kind of came out of nowhere, and we all knew that they had great quarterbacks, and it's just no buzz now for this game. I was telling Karen, I go, hey, I'll watch a little bit, I think, but look, if somebody gets way ahead, and I don't care who it is, all right, let me go see a documentary on the making of Full House or something. All right, that is number 2. And number 3 on Hesser and Kipke's 3 things is talking about the transparency that we don't have in college football that they have in the NFL that is great. Because a lot of it was kind of shoved in our face this week, how this guy could make a bonus if he did this. If he caught these many passes. In the case of the punt returner Hardy from the Bills, he got $250,000 because his punt return yardage went up that much, or his average per punt return went up. It went up till it was under 10. It went over, and if it went over 10, and it went up to 11-2, something like that. So he got a big, huge bonus. I love that, though. I love that you get to see that. It's all written. All these contracts are being written the same way for these college football players. Make them public. Let us know. Tell us what these guys are getting so we can understand a little bit more why you were putting money in. I talk to people who know about what people are getting at the University of Florida. And some of it I'm surprised at. Some of them I'm like, well, what if this? But the trouble is that's one school. And even then, I don't know how accurate that is. We need a database that tells everybody. We need transparency. I'm going to say it until the day I die, which could be any day. When you get this old, it could be any day. All right, that's going to do it for me on that soapbox that I was on for Hesser and Kipke. And we appreciate Hesser and Kipke. Let's get to our Leonardo's at Millhopper quick picks. I did get a address from Andy, and I will be sending him his winning $25 gift certificate and Bob Dooley Invitational hat in the mail tomorrow. And by the way, I did go by there Friday. They have named a sandwich after me. You may have heard about it, but they named a sandwich after me. I wanted to see it in the flesh or on the menu, and I had another one, and it was really good. It's always really good. The Parmesan chicken. That's my favorite sandwich anyway. And so they've named it after me. It's called the Duels. And if you go in there and say, hey, I want a Duels, that's what you'll get. But don't have a Duels with an O'Duels. That's not good. That tastes like somebody put kerosene into it and then carbonated it. It's just awful. So have a Duels with a Bud Light was where I would go with that. All right. So our Leonardo's and Millhopper quick picks. It's just going to be very simply the Florida Ole Miss game, which is Wednesday. It's a late game, guys, 9 o'clock. It's on the SEC network. But just it's hard. You can't get spreads this time of year, and that's fine. Pick a winner. I mean, Ole Miss is 13-1, but the first time they got in the SEC, they got hammered. They haven't played anybody. Florida has played a tougher schedule, but they're going on the road. It's a 9 o'clock game. You can focus on whatever you want to, but it's just I'm leaving the spread even. Pick that game, Florida and Ole Miss on Wednesday night at 9 o'clock. Our Adams Ribco to go, Gator of the weekend. And we love Adams Ribco to go, man. I cannot tell you how many times Karen just says, I don't feel like doing anything. Adams. I go, I'll be getting the car right now because I love Adams. In fact, that ghost pepper barbecue sauce I had just about cleared up my sinuses for a while. All right, so here's who it's going to be. There was a lot of people that deserved it from the basketball game and everything, but I'm giving it to the Florida Swimmers because, again, they don't get much credit. And this was right after our show last week. They had a meet, and they swept South Carolina on Senior Day. So Senior Day for all those seniors, and they swept them, and they're really good. We don't talk about the swimming very much, but a lot of credit should go to them, and they are now our Adams Ribco to Go Gators of the weekend. That's going to take you a long time Xeroxing off all those certificates. There's a lot of swimmers there. Anyway, we appreciate them, and I know they appreciate Adams Ribco to Go. Let's get to our Swamp games of the weekend. Speaking of appreciating food, I saw Ryan at the Swamp, not at the Swamp. I saw him at the Swamp last night. We went there to watch the Dolphin game, but we also saw him at the O-Dome because they, for like 5 years, have catered Kentucky's basketball team. And it was funny because when they left, there was this big thing of Parmesan wings that nobody had taken that box. And I was like, I should just, I said, yeah, I probably shouldn't. I should leave it for the students. And sure enough, they came down there and got them. Anyway, I'm sure everybody had great food from the Swamp, and we had a blast there last night. Karen and Kelsey and I going to the Swamp. And these are the games you can watch this weekend. We'll get to the NFL games later. You all know tonight, 8 o'clock. Well, it's actually 7:30 is when they say it is. And there is no way that game's starting at 7:30, okay? But that's when they're saying it start. Michigan and Washington playing national championship. 2 years from now, you won't be able to remember who won the national championship, I promise you. But it is being played on ABC, ESPN, ESPN 9, the Ocho, I think it's on everything. Watch it if you want to. But we have some basketball Tuesday, ranked versus ranked matchup. They're hard to find this time of year. BYU and Baylor, one's 12, one's 18. That's on the Big 12 network, though. Now, I don't know if I get the Big 12 network. I get about every network, but I don't know if I get that one. But it is on ESPN Plus if you really want to watch it. And then A&M is at Auburn. That's at 9 o'clock on ESPN2 on Tuesday night. That'll be a game to watch as well. Wednesday, Ole Miss is playing Florida. We know that it's 9 o'clock, and it's on the SEC network. So you have to look for that, but that's not hard to find. And then also Arkansas and Georgia are playing at 9 o'clock on the U. So if you have two TVs, you could have that on and kind of scout Georgia because they're going to be playing Georgia very soon. That's the kind of thing I do. But I'm a nut. I'm a loser. I'm a loser, baby, so why don't you kill me? All right, so that is it. Again, the game tonight, 7:30 on ESPN, and its family of networks, which they've kind of reproduced into a bunch of different ones. All right, last thing for you is Pat Dooley Storytime. And when I first saw what I had written down for Pat Dooley Storytime, I had a hard time remembering what it was. And then I finally remembered what it was. But as you know, Pat Dooley Storytime is brought to you by Eastlake Pediatrics, Mike Jordan, and the great folks there. And that will be a picture that I saw this holiday season of me as a young boy with a picture, and it was with a present, and we were just kids, and it was a picture of our whole family and my whole family. And it made me really think about it and how important Christmas was. Now, at this time in our lives, we're not getting much. We're getting, like one year I got a tom-tom, okay? Boom, 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 boom. That was it. That was all I got. Not a lot of money to go around. I mean, I'm not saying we were poor, but we were lower middle class. We had a house. We lived in a house. I was born onto a home with a dirt road. I will say that. I was born, back then we didn't need roads. We liked it. But I thought about it a lot this Christmas. We had 4 Christmases, and how lucky we were to have 4 Christmases. We had one with Karen's parents. We had one with my family over in St. Augustine, or not Karen's parents, but Karen's family. Her parents passed away too, down in Daytona Beach, St. Augustine. We had a party at our house, and then we had our Christmas, and with our whole family. And it was great just to think about it, how in 69 years I have come full circle in a way. From a guy who had gotten to where, oh man, if we, Robbie, we may be able to leave the night of the Christmas to get to the bowl game. And we used to love to do that. We used to love to get us out of the way as soon as possible. Didn't have to help clean up. Didn't have to do anything. It was like the great life, but it wasn't right. We should have stayed around longer. The more I think about it, and helping Karen so much with everything, this was my best Christmas ever. It made me realize you got to be there for your family. It's about family. It's not about the Gators. Okay? Sorry to say, buddies. I'm still rooting for you, but it's more about the family than it is you. And we need to all start looking at things that way. Now, I say that, and next year Florida's going to end up in the playoffs on Christmas Day. And nobody's going to remember what I said. But today, this is what I'm saying. And today, I'm also saying, Zach, hope you had a great New Year. We will be back with another show on Thursday. And until then, I am Pat Dooley. I am deep, way back, and I am out of here. All right.